Hi there, Carrollton, Mississippi. I hope you
Hi.
guys are enjoying your festival for the Pilgrimage and Pioneer. I am here with my beautiful daughters, Charlotte
Hi.
and Annabelle Fox.
Hi.
And we are here with the extraordinary um, author, Miss Elizabeth Spencer. And she is going to share some history because I know that you are studying and you're working on history and literature. She's going to share some of her experiences. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start an interview and ask her some questions. All right. So, our first question is, why do you think there are so many amazing authors who come from the South or come from your area?
Well, I don't know about my area particularly. Mississippi is full of some of the greatest Southern writers, but I guess it all stemmed from the Civil War, that people thought of the South as a unit, a whole in itself. And then when we started writing stories and good books too, that it was, of course, known not just as American literature, but as Southern literature. And so a whole school of Southern literature grew up, out of that. But just around Carrollton, I don't know of anybody. Well, Mississippi, of course, had two of the greatest, William Faulkner and Eudora Welty. How's that for starters?
Yes, very much. All right. Our next question: did music influence you whenever you were writing? And if so, what types influenced you?
Oh, I don't know. I was never musical myself. I can't even carry a tune. I tried to learn piano, but few lessons of that. My mother was a music teacher, though, and she sang beautifully. And I love hymns in church. I still love hymns. The old ones are the best. And I just dote on singing those things in church. But I follow along with everybody else because I can't. My tune is not so good.
Um, our next question: I would like to know how, because it's the festival. I would like to know how Carrollton, Mississippi, influenced your writing.
Well, it was a beautiful town for one thing, and the people in it were interesting types. I don't know. When my first book came out, my mother was terrified that they would think I was writing about them because it contained, I'm sure, certain Southern types that were familiar everywhere. But there wasn't any need for her to be afraid like that. But she certainly was scared, and she was very embarrassed at the book because sometimes the people didn't talk just in the proper way that she thought people should talk. They said things like damn and hell sometimes, and she was terribly ashamed of that, and was afraid I shouldn't write anymore.
Now, tell us about your book here.
Oh, this is a memoir. It's written about my whole life, landscapes of the heart, and that was a phrase in a story I wrote, that I felt the need of a land of a sure terrain, of a sort of permanent landscape of the heart. And an editor I had just lifted that phrase off and put it on this. But this is the memoir. This is about growing up in Carrollton, Mississippi. And a whole lot of it is concerned with growing up in Carrollton. So I think anybody that wants to know about me and about Carrollton should read from this book, Landscapes of the Heart. There.
Wonderful. Thank you. Um, so, our last question
Yes.
um, is for the youth. If there was any words of wisdom that you could give, because I'm a school teacher in Chapel Hill, and I have daughters. What are some words of wisdom that you would like to share with the youth about writing? Something you'd like to pass on to them?
Well, I think it's important if you want to write just to do it. Sit down and do it. But the thing is, you've got to find a group that you can be with, and that creative writing classes form a group around you, and they can judge your work, and you read it aloud in the group, and they judge whether they think this is good or maybe this was better or something. And that's very, very helpful. If you have a good creative writing class, you can all work together on what you're writing. And so that's a big help. I don't know what else to do except write. If you want to write, write. And you must have a lot of stories you want to tell, starting with your family.
Absolutely.
They won't like it, but you can try telling it anyway.
My mom tells me all the time I need to write a book with all the things that I've been through. So
really, what have you been through?
Oh, a lot.
Oh, you're going to tell me? I'll write about it.
I can tell you, and you could definitely write about it. It's some great things and some very powerful things.
Oh, well, you should write about it then.
Yes.
Sure.
Wonderful. Well, folks, thank you so much for taking your time out and enjoying our interview. I hope you have a wonderful time at the festival. Any last words you would like to say?
Well, everybody in Carrollton, my mother always told me when I went uptown, speak to people. Speak to people. And so I'm speaking to everybody in Carrollton.
Yes, wonderful.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye. Girl, say bye.
Bye.
Bye.